So we did it. We won the $30,000 Verizon tournament this last weekend, and it was a ton of fun. And I just want to share my thoughts and experience with the 2 weekends that this tournament involved. It was a really really good time actually, and I think there's a few really important reasons for that. And one of them has to do with the rules. They did a really good job on making a fun but diverse meta in the tournament. So the first thing, no CVs. Pretty obvious one to just keep CVs out because CVs counter all flanking, all solo positions. It just destroys the tense first couple minutes of the game where you're trying to figure out what the enemy team's doing without losing ships and trying to make sure you're set up to counter whatever they're doing. All of that interesting dynamic gameplay is countered out completely with an aircraft carrier because the carrier just flies over and spots everybody instantly in the first minute. So great job having no CVs. Well done. That's honestly what made this tournament for me. If nothing else, even if we lost everything, if we didn't even make it to the NA qualifying thing, I would have been super happy with just playing in a little mini clan battle qualifier, but just because there was no CV. It's that big of a deal as a competitive player. I think the other thing that made it really special was the 4 DD limit. DDs are just super duper strong in the meta at tier 8 and other tiers too, really. The speed and concealment allows them to rotate around the map incredibly quickly. And when you group them up and you have really skilled players all working together with them, the amount of firepower that, 5 or 6 destroyers can bring to the table is so massive that it just removes a lot of strategic positioning play and holding certain islands and holding certain areas of the map, and it becomes more of a, okay, whose DDs can run around the map and get a pick first, and that's who wins. And that is a playstyle that some people may like and some people may find interesting, and that's why this isn't as important as CVs. But for me personally, I enjoyed that there was a 4DD limit. And as you can see, most teams really did run 4DDs who are competitive. So that just kind of goes to show how strong that the DDs are at that class, or in this class. Tier 8, not Tier 10. Huge deal, because Tier 10 promotes such a campy, boring range meta where you can't really make plays very easily, and I think Tier 8's just way more fun. It's way more close range, a little more brawly, a little bit less crazy damage focus, less long range radar. It's just more interesting to play, more entertaining to play. And I think it was more entertaining to watch than the Tier 10 stuff. The Tier 10 stuff, I think, can get kind of boring. And even as it was, I think some of the time, some of the games were quite boring, with everybody just kind of standing off at the back of the map, not wanting to make mistakes, that kind of thing. But Tier 8 did a lot better, I think. As for the rules that could have been different, I think limiting the number of premiums would be very interesting. Supremacy League way back in the day did this, and I think it was very interesting, where you had to decide which premium ships were valuable enough to take up one of those premium ship slots. This would not really help with Wargaming's goal of selling a bunch of Tier 8 premiums, but I think it would have made a more interesting meta. The other thing is there were ship and map bans, picks and bans, for the maps at least, and just ship bans per team. But there was only one ship ban per team, so it's pretty easy to, for example, play Le Fantastique or Le Terrible. You just play whichever one. It's hard, you can't ban them both, so nobody ended up banning any of them, and we just kind of used that to victory some of the time on some of the maps. So I think maybe 2 ship bans would have been more interesting to kind of stop certain strategies and mix things up a bit. But minor complaints, really well done on the rules, I think. I had a lot of fun with that. Speaking of fun, the qualifying mini tournament thing in the in-game clan battles setting was so fun. It was such a good time to just chill for a few hours with some friends and play games. And it was fast. A lot of the problems with these tournaments is the games take forever to get going. And because there's casters, there's organizers, there's getting everything ready. There's really not a lot of games happening for the amount of time that is spent on the actual tournament casted days. Whereas qualifiers, it was just game. You're just ripping through it. It was so much fun. Part of the fun was I made a huge profit. I think I made 1.5 million free XP just in that weekend. Maybe 4 million Commander XP and like 100 million credits. Because I saved up all my special flags and camos and all that stuff to really boost things. It was kind of hilarious. I think the qualifying was also good because you had a variety of maps. And you couldn't just strategize for one map. You had to pick something that was good across all maps and against all the comps you would be fighting. So I think that was just an interesting way to have a qualifier. I really like that. I think the other thing is the variety in teams allowed for unexpected plays. We didn't really know what was going to come from certain teams. And that was cool. So there were games where, on Sleeping Giant, I believe, some teams just full pushed into that central Thunderdome cap from the middle. Just everybody went for it. And we weren't expecting it. And it was really fun to just deal with that and play around that. It was a really fun weekend. Adapting like that is tons and tons of fun. And yeah, just a good time that weekend. Now, the actual NA championship and then the worldwide championship was still fun, but a lot more intense because, well, this is really the first tournament with a ton of reward on the line. For most of us, in-game rewards aren't that special because we've been playing the game so long, we pretty much have everything we want anyway. So getting things out of the game as a reward is super duper cool. So I think the NA qualifier was pretty good. Same kind of thing as far as gameplay of the rules I mentioned earlier. I think some things they could have done a little bit better is changing it so first seed played fourth seed and second and third played against each other. Because as it is, we got first seed and we actually played against the third seed for some reason, and second seed played fourth seed, which is really weird because it's actually better than to play second, because if you're the best team and you can get whatever position you want in the qualifying, wouldn't you want to play against the worst team when it really matters? So one would want to play fourth. That would make most sense to me. But it's actually better the way things went to get second, because then you would play the fourth place team. So, weird rule there. I don't understand that one at all. But that's okay. It was, in North America at least, it's generally the top two teams are pretty competitive with each other, and then there's a reasonable gap between third and fourth right now for whatever reason. The other problem with the NA one was getting up early for just NA stuff was weird. It was really weird to have to get up at, I don't know, what was it, 6, 8? I think it was 8 a.m. for the NA one. And that's kind of odd that it's all NA players forced to get up at a weird time. So I understand for the international stuff you need to have it so everybody's kind of in a reasonable time zone, but for just North America stuff, that's kind of weird. Just the regional stuff, a little weird, but still very interesting, fun games. The prepping and the all the meta gaming and picking and banning things that was done by our callers and strategizers was really cool. They did a great job. It was fun for me to just show up and play, but our callers and strategizing people did amazing. We have quite a few of them, and they did a really good job. And now getting into the international championships, super tense, which was really fun because a lot of times this game can get kind of stale and boring after you've played it for so many times that it's not really that intense anymore. And the huge reward after getting to the internationals was really intense because every game mattered. If you won your first match or your first set, you're guaranteed the $10,000 reward as a team, which is crazy, right? Like, you win 2 out of 3 games and you get that. That's crazy. So super intense, a lot of fun because of that. And then, of course, if you won both sets, you'd get the $15,000. Super duper fun to fight and play. I think the international side of things is really fun too because of the different metas from each server. So something that works on NA, for example, might be countered out by an EU strategy that's pretty common over there. So very cool to face the different kinds of playstyles on each server. I like that a lot. I think that, yeah, everybody I think played pretty well in the tournament, and I'm just really happy that I was able to play because it was a ton of fun for me. Not just because we won. That's an extra bonus, but I was having fun when we were, even when we lost our first game to TWA, it was like, man, that sucks, but it was still like a very intense, close kind of game, right? And it was fun because of that. So yeah, a really, really good tournament. Well done by Wargaming to put that together and get a big sponsor like Verizon. I think that's pretty cool. And yeah, so now I think I'm just going to want to go into some specific plays I had and maybe my team had, and just to kind of show some of the fun interactions and gameplay there was. So let's hop into that. So looking at a few of these clips from the tournament, the highlights, I guess I should say, or I guess these are going to be lowlights. I'm sure you remember some of these shots that I got on some Edinburghs and Belfasts. And you're probably thinking, wow, I must have been tilting and raging so hard at some of these shots, right? Not necessarily this one, but you'll see it. The thing is, I actually wasn't tilting that hard. I was frustrated by it, sure, because, I mean, a dev strike on a cruiser or even a couple citadels is enough to swing a game in someone else's favor, right? And so for me as a Battleship player, I want to have that kind of impact. And I think, wow, look at this position I have on this Eden. Like, this is it. GG, right? We get their radar cruiser out of the important island and for overpens. So, of course, I wasn't happy. But the thing you have to remember about World of Warships, specifically competitive, is it is a team game first. And in fact, before it's even a team game, it's a strategy game. And if you have the right strategy, you're going to beat a team with a worse strategy, even if you have worse players, right? Little things like this can impact the game pretty massively, whether you dev strike a cruiser or not. But that's not the be-all, end-all of the game. It's the overall strategy that wins it. It's the whole team working together. And that's the really important thing and the reason why I don't tilt too much. Because my teammates can hit shots like this. They can focus fire like crazy. Everybody on my team is really, 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 really good at this game. And on top of that, generally, I think we have some of the best strategy out of anybody in the game because there's so much time spent by people like Jones, Potato, Pullacat, Swill, Pieces of Pizza. Like, we have a lot of people really, really digging into strategies and testing things. And that's why we're generally pretty prepared for a lot of stuff. And that's why we work so well together as a team too, is not only are those people thinking about it, everybody has a say in a lot of these strategies. And I really, really appreciate that about our team. And I think that's part of the reason we're quite good at this is we all kind of know what we're doing, right? We all know the plan. Like here, for example, we all know exactly what to do and where to shoot, where to go with our ship, where to have our guns turned, all that stuff. And because we're all ready for it, that means that we can be more efficient and more effective at taking a destroyer out or getting a capture zone, all that stuff. And I think that's the main reason I don't tilt as much when I miss a shot like that, is because the strategy is not built around a battleship hitting a crazy shot. The strategy is built around the DD and cruiser players playing well and holding positions and dealing their consistent damage. And the battleships there is just kind of a scare tactic. Maybe. I don't know. Battleships are one of those things that it's like, I mean, you probably saw me had to go in and ram one of these games. And it's like, you just kind of do what you got to do, right? So, yeah, the focus fire is pretty cool. And I'm really, really glad that I can trust teammates to do well. And that's that's the main reason I don't tilt at shots like those earlier ones, really. It's a big deal to be able to trust what your teammates are going to do. You know, I'll tilt in random battles because in random battles, you can't trust your teammates at all. And that's the big difference between random battles and these tournaments, is you can actually rely on your teammates. And that's one of the nice things about them. And another reason why I have fun with it that I didn't mention earlier is the teammates that you get to choose on top of the better rule set and the no CVs and all that stuff. And, you know, people just playing calmly under pressure, right? Pizza here in a DD against an Edinburgh at 2 kilometers, and he's totally fine. That's great. So very cool stuff. It's a really, really, really fun tournament for me to play in because of all the rules, the people that I get to play with, all that stuff. It's a really good time, and I had a lot of fun this weekend. Now, well, the last 2 weekends. Now, I'm sure, you know, this fun will wear off, and as I'll play random battles, and I might take a small break over Christmas to play some other games like Cyberpunk coming out. But this weekend really made me remember why I liked playing the game. I was feeling a little done with the game, maybe in summer into fall, and this was a lot of fun. Everything was planned out. It was done well. I really, really had a good time. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about overall strategy, but I want to just mention this play. And I'm sure you guys remember this one. This is the one that they talked about me on stream. This is the Battleship push play. And we're losing this game. And we, as a team, have a history of being able to come back from these kind of losing situations. And that's because our team is really, really good at coordinating a full team push back on the enemy team. So despite me being relatively alone here, and probably going to be against 3 ships, the Albemarle, or Albemarle, whatever it's pronounced like, and the Orkan and the Lenin. Because our Orkan's low, and our cruiser is holding the caps so that our home cap doesn't actually get taken away. And this is I'm going to play exactly like I talked to you guys about in my brawling battleship positioning kind of guide thingy, where I talk about using islands all the time. And this is a perfect example of that. I am very, very confident I don't have to worry about the ships on the other side of the map shooting me, because my team is on the other side of the map distracted me. So I can take some pot shots. I know the DD's probably going to torp me through this gap, so we go to the island. It's great. And this is the fun thing for me. I'm sure those of you that have been here for a while know pushing in a battleship is the most fun part of this game for me. So this was my highlight of the entire tournament thing, this game, because it was so close, we were so into it, and I mean, of course, this is the finals, right, against Vor, so this is for the full all the marbles world champion thing. This was, I think, game 3. And incredible stuff where get to dodge some torpedoes, get to push into a DD and a battleship while being farmed by a cruiser. But this is why Massachusetts is so strong. Your Citadel is pretty unhittable. It can be hit, but if you keep it angled, it's pretty good. And your heals just come up like crazy. And you see me switch to HE here for the Orkan. I thought he would stay and start farming me, but he didn't. And so I got ready for the Lenin. I was thinking the Lenin was going to pop out here, and that's why I switched to AP. But I see that he's stopping. And so because of that, I'm getting ready to swap back to HE, because I know that DD probably wants to come around the corner to torp me. I'm just holding it for AP because if the Lenin comes around, I need to be able to kill him before he kills me. But here, you can see I'm already turning my turrets. I'm already ready for the DD. And I swap. He radars me, so I know he's coming. That radar tells me that he wants to know where I am and when I'm coming. And then we just hold our shot. Right? Patience, like I said. And a lot of people talked about. And somehow his torpedo tubes get destroyed. I don't actually kill them there with my main guns. My secondaries kill him, but got a little bit lucky there, and I ain't gonna lie. Now, here, the casters talked about how I needed to get into the cap to win, but that's not at all true. You can see the enemy will win 4 seconds before we will. So this cap is not important. The important thing is I stay alive. And there's no way I'm going to live against their cruiser one-on-one, him kiting me away. So I cannot get into the cap. I need to put this island on my right in between me and that cruiser. That's the way I live. I retain my battleship's worth of points, right? There's the, points at the top, and your battleship is worth like 40 points or something like that. So we don't want that big of a swing to happen. And so I just go full in on this Lenin to try and kill him. And as you can see, I'm looking for the way to kind of cheek the Lenin, but you can't do it necessarily at that angle. So I'm waiting and waiting for that flat rear of the Lenin that's so weak. And I'm not gonna lie, I was really hoping for a Citadel. But 8,000 damage, getting fire with our secondaries is good. And this is the real strength of the Massachusetts, is this heal. You can see this cruiser is really, really struggling to kill me because I just keep healing over and over and over again. And one cruiser's DPM is generally not enough to kill a Massachusetts very quickly. And that's why I really, really like this ship. You can make these kind of all-in plays against not everybody, but some people on the end. Like just a few ships, Massachusetts is very strong. You can't push 5 people, obviously, but yeah, as you can see, my team on the other side of the map did their pushback while I was doing my push. And so that split the focus of the enemy, and I think that helped us win the game. So that was a really, really fun sequence for me. And this Lenin, for some reason, turned to give me broadside, so sure, I'll take that. I don't know why he turned like that. But yeah, a really, really highlight. This is the big game for me. This was the fun one for me. They were all really fun. I shouldn't say that. I'm not saying that they weren't fun, but this was the really, really nice one for me. And I think our team played really, really well in this entire tournament. Not only did we have great strategy, but I think everybody played incredibly well. And this one last clip, I want to show exactly how John stayed alive to win us this game. This is crazy. Team's pushing back. I've done my thing over on the other side of the map, but John has to live, right? Because if he dies, we end up losing. So pretty crazy. I think, yeah, really, really, I had a lot of fun this weekend. And if you guys wanted to rewatch the tournament or just watch the tournament in general if you missed it, it's all up on the World of Warships Twitch page. And I think on their YouTube channel as well. There you go. You see he lives with like 1,000 health. Crazy. It was a fun tournament, and I'm really happy I got to participate. So thanks for watching, guys, and that was my thoughts on the tournament this last couple weekends.